John, this is the Global Digest think tank group, and you are our guest today. Where you are working, or where is your project right now?
Right now, I'm trying to set up a project here in Canada for humanitarian efforts towards um, to protect violence, women and children from violence, from human trafficking, um, to give them a better life. So, and I also have uh, a couple projects that I've just to give them the information to help youth get out of addiction, get off the streets in Uganda. Um, Also, there's another program that I've given to the vice president of Uganda to help build communities as well as get clean.
See, so you work right now in Canada.
Yeah,
You
yeah. Like I said, it's to help women and children escape human trafficking and the violence that curtails with it.
see.
I actually work with the International Human Rights Observatory, which is a NGO.
I see.
I'm a, I'll be honest with you again, I'm a recovering addict. I've been clean for a few years, and um, there's a lot of people that I still talk to within the community that I'm here. It's a beautiful community. I've actually met some people that have spiritually uplifted me. Um, Country Bell and Country Lunatic and Hustle Mitch, and their music actually helps me get through the day sometimes when I have uh, a lot going on in my mind. Um, is some of the great talent that's here, and he's a very good friend of mine, Hustle Mitch, which we sat last night and talked and watched the sun go down, and he brought me back to he got me grounded again to where I was, uh, actually from where I was to actually being grounded, nice and safe,
I see. So
which was quite.
it means yourself is also drug addicted victim.
Yes, I still advocate for housing. I still advocate for uh, people in recovery, like drug addiction, um, mental health issues. Um, I try and be a big part of the community if I can. A lot of the times I do a lot of work behind the scenes, um, just to make sure that things get said, that their voice gets amplified. There's been one of the big humanitarian issues within Canada itself is a lack of housing. Um, there's
Right.
been quite a bit of forest fires and whatnot, so the housing infrastructure itself has gone down. Um, there's been quite a few uh, issues within the province of Ontario itself with safe injection sites being shut down. After after our premier did that, it actually caused a 288% increase in overdose deaths within the
I
first two.
see. It's worsened. The situation is worsened.
Yes, yes, it does. This the organization that I work for, the NGO, we're trying to unlock um, some funds for humanitarian efforts here in Canada, not just with the human trafficking side, but also for the housing side too.
So is there any drug, I mean, opium plantation in Canada?
No,
Really?
no, there's no opiate plantation in Canada. We had there was an investigation where there was a bunch of precursor chemicals that came in from China, to Canada through the Port of Victoria, I believe it was, in Vancouver, or Port of Vancouver, I should say. They found those drugs out in BC somewhere, and they were manufacturing them. So there's
Manufacturing in Canada.
in Canada, yes. So there's been a huge increase with narcotics such as crystal meth being exported from Canada to places like Australia. There's been a huge uptick in precursor chemicals coming into Canada, where they're being manufactured. Uh, the crystal meth, fentanyl, and cocaine, like the cocaine addiction and crystal meth, as well as the fentanyl addictions, have risen quite significantly.
So probably chemical, you said chemical, mostly the resources of chemical came from China.
Yes, yes,
And
that was through an RCMP report that I discovered that.
let's see. So chemical resource came from China and manufacture the drug in Canada. They are probably manufacturer, homemade manufacturer in Canada.
It was discovered through an investigation through Customs and Immigration, and also through several different police services.
Let's see. So probably cocaine maybe came from South America or Latin America.
Yeah, as far as I know, I really didn't follow that much on that part. My big concern was because it's fentanyl, it's more likely to take people's lives, and that's where that's a big issue.
Right.
A lot of it's being smuggled in from the U.S. to Canada.
I see. So
And
in Canada, it means from Latin America and South America, maybe one way they are smuggling drug, cocaine, fentanyl. Also, you said a lot of drug, cocaine, and fentanyl came from U.S., bypassed by U.S. They
yes,
smuggling to Canada from U.S.
yes, there's there has been quite a few instances where there's been large amounts being caught, being transported in from the U.S.
Let's see. So U.S. government is military action on the drug smuggler. But I don't know. I did not hear anything Canadian military dealing with smuggling, drug smuggling.
Actually, no. The Canadian government actually has spent quite a bit of money to upgrade their border protection from the U.S. to Canada. What they've done is there was huge investments to purchase helicopters and retrain some of our border guards, our customs agents. So that is slowly starting to go down. There was you take a look at the southern border coming from Mexico to the U.S. and how Donald Trump has put a wall there. The problem is there's huge gaps within those walls. And also there's tunnels that come through from Mexico to the U.S. Spending millions of dollars on a wall that basically is useless, because the war on drugs has gone on for so long. It's like Gabor Mate said, it's gone on for so long that there's been millions, if not billions of dollars spent on the war on drugs. It's only made it worse.
So you
because
said yes,
because because of the uh, it's like with a child. If you put candies in front of a child and say no, you can't have any, that child is going to reach over and grab one,
right.
right? So by putting up a wall and trying to do all this down in the US to Mexico, because it's South America at the beginning of, just below it, you have all these drugs that are coming up through Mexico and whatnot, and a lot of them are made there. So the war on drugs, like I said, it's been there for years and years and years. It's only caused more harm by taking away from the actual programs that could help people.
You said the wall, Mexico US border border wall is useless and not effective for preventing any drug smuggling, right?
Right.
So
People,
which means instead of the wall, you want to say there should be alternative way will be much better for solution.
yes. Yes, I think there's a lot better solutions for it. Um, when it comes to Canada, we're such a multicultural country that there's there's people here that have their own beliefs. There's people, that have been here for generations, um, before the white man came, and there was certain ways where the indigenous native people of Canada
Right.
govern them, right? So there was no alcohol, there was no anything like that except for natural medicines. Um, when it comes to the US, because they've taken away so many different human rights down there, um, it's pretty bad when you have most of the population in the United States that really they don't like the idea of ICE walking through their cities. Uh, they don't like the idea of citizens that are legal there getting shot in the streets. Um, they're saying that it's to for uh, safety, for homeland security, and in reality, it's causing more problems. It's not just about the drugs. It's not just about the people. It's about communities.
So what about if US government, catch and, go down to the sources, example, in Colombia or any other South America, where the production of drug, cocaine or fentanyl, any product produced country, they should go and catch directly to the sources, even the regime, if any government, if they cannot handle that, they can remove them or they can finish or destroy drug production in that particular country, or some case, those resource drug produce country, the government itself is involved in drug production. It can be in case of Burma, the Burmese military government involved in opium production, a lot of drug production. So that exactly the solution is they should go down and catch the real producer, drug producer, even militia group or including the country military government or any dictator government. they can destroy them and destroy the drug production, all the facility and the regime. The government can be removed. That will be more effective instead of border fence. Or, I mean, the going to the real source country isn't better. How do you think if they do like that? That would be alternative good option.
Well, yes, to go in and catch the people that are actually producing these chemicals and stop them from coming into the US and to Canada so that we don't have those problems.
Right.
You know, it would be great. But the only problem is, like I said, with the United States, like there are so many producers of all these chemicals and all these different narcotics that uh, it's next to impossible to stop it. You know, there's millions and millions and trillions of dollars actually um, that are received actually made every year from the profits of drug cartels, drug dealers, international smugglers. Um, they do this. There's submarines that are being used. Um, Submarines, planes, people as mules. Um, it's something that really, like I said, it's been going on for a long time. It was the DEA was formed out of 40s, 20s, and 40s with the bootleg era. Um, it was the FBI, and then it became a part of Homeland Security, right? So it's there's a lot going on.
You want to
It,
say within United States, there are a lot of drug producer or there are many chemical which they produce drug within US itself,
as far as I know, yes.
like the same in Canada. A lot of chemical they brought in Canada and they produce drug in Canada. So
Yeah.
similar happening in US a lot.
Um, I've been down in the U.S. quite a bit. I spent quite a few years down there. Um, I was clean most of the time that I was there. There was some time where I did uh, fall back into my addiction, and I was privy to just how much narcotics were in the U.S.
So it's also required solution within the country, right? Within United States, within Canada, any drug producer, any local producer need to be hunt down and catch them, and they have to, cleanse within local production, right? That's
Yes.
still there. Even you can able to prevent international some smuggling. You said still there are local domestic production is still there. So it's also required domestic production to be prevented.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been like unfortunately when it comes to the United States, a lot of the times when they catch producers down there, they don't mention it.
So
You know, they
there is no media report about domestic drug production.
correct, correct. There's quite a bit of domestic drug production in the U.S. That goes unreported. There's quite a few people down there that are domestic. They do produce it right there. Um, And like I said, they don't put it in the paper.
Right.
They the thing with the U.S., as far as I know, and as far as I can see, and it's only my own opinion, the United States always wanted better than somebody else,
Right.
right? It's a great country. It's a great, it's a beautiful place. But uh, I'm born and raised in Canada. I moved down there for a while. I came back home, and I really love the city of North Bay that I'm in. I love Ontario, and I really would like to see a lot of things changed in Ontario and in Canada to the point where there's not so many deaths from overdose. There's people that are being housed that need the help. There's families that are being taken off the street and put in homes where they have a better chance. Um, there's so much that needs to be done for the communities in Canada. It's a beautiful country.
Right.
Yeah, it's democracy in the United States has been under attack for a long time, and it's when you have a president that starts taking away rights and uh, you know the right to basically safely protest. Um,
Compared to US, you want to say at least Canada is better in reporting, media reporting any domestic drug production. They found it.
yes, I would have to say yes in a big way. Um, we are we're a more informative country.
I see.
Uh, we try to inform our public, our general public with as much information as we can through the news networks, um, so that they understand. Because you can have you could have somebody making drugs in a community, and that house could explode. So I'm grateful that um, there's been some surveillance. Um a lot of our police services have been slowly being retrained to deal with mental health issues and drug overdoses. Um, when it comes to officers arriving in scene and actually being able to understand that they're dealing with somebody that has a mental health issue. It really helps out when you get somebody that can understand that there's somebody that's in psychosis because of the drugs that they're on. They have a mental health issue. They need medical treatment,
Right.
right? It's not so much that they need to be locked up. It's just they need help. And in order for a person to get clean, they have to want that. They need to change their life, but they have to want to change their life.
I see.
When
So,
it came, like for myself, when it came to coming out of my addiction and what I was going to do to fill that time, this is what I've been doing. I've been self-educating myself. I've been working through programs to help myself out and better understand what's going on around me in my community and in Canada and in around the globe. The humanitarian efforts to get food into Gaza. I was a big part of that with the global solidarity movement. Um, I've been doing a lot of things in the background for Uganda, and for the Rohingya over in Bangladesh and Cox's Bazar, Chattagram, Arakan State, Myanmar. Um, I stay in constant contact with them. I repost stuff for them. I've done some campaigns to help save the Kitabalu rainforest down in Uganda, uh, uh, right by Lake Victoria. Um, for Freedom Hive Uganda as a volunteer. Then they gave me a position as a representative for them for Canada. Um, so I do quite a bit on the environmental side, the humanitarian efforts, and with mental health addictions and housing.
Great, you did a lot of great job. And uh, compared to US, you said Canada is much better for dealing with drug victims. And can you say Canadian government is very helpful and support for rehabilitation of drug victim and or the victim, any hospital or any uh, education center or rehabilitation center? How can you say, in your own experience, Canadian government support is very good?
I would have to say that when it comes to helping people in addiction, the Canadian government itself is awesome. Um, there's programs that are you can get in 14 days. There's programs where they're 3, 6, 9 month, a year, 18-month programs that you can get into and carry on with doing volunteer work to help you get into something that's a paying job.
So Canadian government is doing good job for a drug victim as a humanitarian effort by
Yeah.
Canadian government. I wish if Canadian government, Canadian Army also hunting down to the source country like Burma, the opium production or drug production located area, including Lethal regime, the Burmese government should be removed and cleanse drug. Two things, removing drug as well as restoring democracy and freedom in Burma and helping all these crises from this authority and government. How do you think Canadian government were willing to do, or what's your suggestion to Canadian government?
If they were to go into Burma and help with the the situation there, I think it would be a great idea.